Hi Aries, welcome to Yellow Card No Tarot with me. My name is Carol and this is going to be a general reading for you for May 2026. And I hope you're all doing well out there. If you're new to my channel, I want to welcome you to Yellow Card No Tarot and let me know below. I appreciate it if you comment to tell me if the video resonated with you or just to say hi. And if you're coming back for another reading, I would appreciate it if you subscribed, because I know a lot of you out there are coming back but not necessarily subscribing. So I really want my videos to get out because this is a healing channel, and if you know my story, I've been healing on my own intensive healing journey for 9 years now, my own complex trauma. And I do parts therapy, and so I've been able to incorporate that healing with tarot. And so you'll hear me talk a little bit about parts as I go through my readings. And so if you're interested in a personal reading, a tarot reading, so you can go to my website, carolecares.com, and that's Carole with an E. And on my website, you can find a Yellow Card No Tarot page with all my readings there. And I'm also a shamanic practitioner. So if you're open to a shamanic healing, I do it distance healing. And you can sign up for a free 15-minute consultation, and we can see if we're a good fit. And you know, and it's totally up to you after that if you want to go through with the healing. I will not bother you after that. So yeah, you can look at those two pages on my website, carolecares.com. But today you're here for a reading. And so before I sat down for the May reading, I heard two words, and those two words were hollow bone. And so an important concept in shamanic practice for me, and really for anyone that's on the healing journey, it speaks about becoming like a hollow bone. And what it essentially means, it's becoming a conduit or a vessel, or if you like, a hollow bone for the divine or spirit to come through. And in order for myself, a shamanic practitioner, to heal, to help the divine come through, the spirit come through to do their healing, and also for myself or you, for your own personal healing. And so in order to become like hollow bone, we must become empty of the notions of who we are. And so our ego self likes to convince us that we're a certain person. We're a certain way. And so we have these beliefs about ourselves. And, you know, we have patterns and emotions that come up often. And so this is about checking your ego at the door, because we can't get rid of our ego. It's a part of us, right? But it's like to become in that position of being teachable. So of asking the ego to step aside so that our true authentic self, our true higher self, will come forward and will be in a position where we're willing to receive rather than to control everything around us. And that's what our ego self wants to continue to do. It wants to convince us that it's in charge. And so we continue to control with our ego mind, right? And so we're going to start off with using the Ehrenberg Tarot for your reading, and then we're going to clarify with the AE weight. And so the first thing I want to look at, and I forgot to say to you that this card that usually I hold it up when I'm talking about the hollow bone, but this comes from the oracle card, the Shaman's Dream Oracle. And as soon as I heard those two words, I went, oh, this comes from, I've heard this before. Of course, it's come up for me with my own shamanic teachings, but I knew it was in that oracle deck. And so that's where I got the teachable word from, because right underneath that says teachability underneath the hollow bone. So I'm going to keep that as our themed card here. So let's begin with the reading, and I want to know what belief or identity story, Aries, you're holding on to that's blocking you right now. So let's ask the tarot for one card, and I've pre-shuffled all these cards before I came on. Well, you ended up wanting to get two here. So you have the Seven of Cups with the Six of Wands in reverse. And what pattern, mindset, or emotions need to be released or emptied out, right? So this is going to be, this section right here will be your unconscious. It'll be your shadow. And we have patterns and mindsets about ourselves, emotions that need to be released because they need healing, right? Then that they all are formed from our childhood, from our adolescence, and that's what's driving or having the biggest impact on this belief or identity that you have about yourself right now. So let's ask for the pattern, mindset, or emotions that need to be released right now or emptied out. What needs to be emptied out here? All right, since we're talking about the hollow bone, we have the King of Pentacles, and he's in reverse. What is the message, guidance, or truth behind it that you've been resisting, right? Because our ego self is the one that resists. It's the one that doesn't want you to go to your truth. And so what is the message or the guidance or the truth behind all of this? Well, the Six of Swords is here. Something for you to see there. And then finally, how can you begin to trust and allow in order to step into this hollow bone state right now? How can you become teachable, right? How can you put that ego aside and say, okay, I'm teachable? And this is a healing journey, so it's just going to be, you know, a small step, which could be a huge step for you. Very important though, right? So let's have one card for that. And this is the advice from the tarot, actually. And then I'll leave you with a couple playlists at the end, maybe one or two playlists to help you out with this advice right here that the tarot is going to give you as soon as it comes out. Let's have one card, please, for this last section. And then Aries, we can get on with your reading. It's coming. So close there. Okay, come on. There we go. We have two. So you have the Three of Wands and the Knight of Wands right underneath it. And I have some clarifiers for the Seven of Cups and the Six of Wands. One more here. See if it wants to give me one more. Yeah, I'll keep it here. Two of Swords in reverse. I think that's all I need. King of Pentacles. One or two cards here. Let's go with two cards, I think. The Hangman in reverse. And the Five of Swords in reverse. Six of Swords. Couple cards for the Six of Swords. Just tell me some more about that one. I'm going to put those ones. Do you want those ones? Okay. I was going to put them back in, but it's like, no, you can take these ones. Okay, so you have the Four of Wands, the Five of Wands, and then the Queen of Wands. I was going to say at the beginning, and I held back, but I feel like there's a lot of wand energy here. Yeah, and some sword energy battling out with it. Three of Wands and the Knight of Wands, if I can have a couple cards for that. One or two cards here. There we go. Okay. Eight of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so Aries, what belief, identity, story are you holding on to that's blocking you right now? Wow, yeah. Two powerful cards here, Seven of Cups and the Six of Swords in reverse. Your Seven of Cups card. A lot going on in this card, the Seven of Cups card, right? Cups are about our emotions. And so I'm going to say that your emotions are all over the place, right? You're all over the place. You're all mixed up. You're having trouble sorting it all out. Then you got the snake here that's coming in. The snake's very healing, though. Remember that about the snake. It's very healing. So when our emotions are all over the place, when we're feeling quite frazzled, and we can become quite dissociated. And dissociated means that you're going to stay up in your head and you're spinning around everything that's going on right now, but you're not doing the thing that you're meant to do, is to feel these emotions, right? We have all these emotions that are all over the place because they're not being felt. And if they're not being felt, then they're going to continue to be dysregulated and all over the place, right? And so the Seven of Cup card is my card of dissociation. And your ego self will keep you up in your head, spinning on things, because it doesn't want you to do the one thing, and that's feel your emotions. And when we feel our emotions, we need to be in our body, because that's where our emotions are, in our body. And so if your ego self keeps you up in your head and your mind spinning around, you don't have to be in touch with your emotions because you're not in your body. And so most of us walk around actually in a dissociated state because we're up in our heads, because we don't want to go into our bodies and feel. And so there's something here that's coming up for you to feel in particular. And the reason why you're so frazzled and your emotions are all over the place, because the one emotion that you are meant to feel is the one that the ego fears the most. And that's the emotion that's hidden, and it's in reverse because there's obviously a resistance to feeling it. But it's the one emotion that comes out in the Six of Wands. And here's this individual that's coming back from a battle. And it looks like he's won because he has the victory wreath on his head, right? But there's another side to all of my sixes in my deck. And the side to this one is the emotion of grief. It's what's lost, right? It's not what's won, but it's what's lost. And so this whole first part here is this huge belief around you not being able to feel this grief, because so many of us so many of us are convinced by our ego that if you feel this grief that you're meant to feel, and it's a general reading, so you may or may not know that there's some grief here that you need to feel. If you feel it, it's going to eat you alive. It's like there's this big, huge wall that says grief on it, and it's like, I can't get over that. Every time I go near it, I get so overwhelmed and feel like it's going to eat me alive. It's going to swallow me alive. But that is the biggest, scariest emotion for our ego. Our ego is petrified of all emotions, right? Because it's been taught when it was younger not to feel. And so you've got some grief here that needs to be felt, but you have decided, this is in reverse, there's a big huge denial here that you don't even realize how much your denial is, but you have shut down, put your blindfold on, crossed your heart, even though that water's flowing behind you. Water is all about emotions. Anytime you see water in any card, it's about your emotions. And you've decided, nope, I'm shutting down. I'm not touching it. I'm not going near it. And so that's what the identity is that you're holding on to. It takes a hell of a lot of energy out of you. Maybe you're somebody that feels exhausted to keep pushing down these emotions. And so what pattern, mindset, or emotions need to be released or emptied out? Well, there's grief. But where's this coming from? This is your unconscious here. This is your childhood, right? This is your shadow. We have the King of Pentacles here. That what pattern, mindset, or emotions? Well, you've got the King of Pentacles, and the King in my deck is your ego. It's the masculine side of us. And so you have this masculine side of you, which is your ego, that does not want you to get into your body, because the pentacle is about the body. The pentacle is about getting into your body. It's the earth element, right? It's about grounding. But when you were younger, you were taught not to touch your emotions. And in fact, this is the controller that came out when you were younger. I call my ego my controller, right? Because your ego is a part of you. And so it came out when you were younger. And to protect you. Because clarifying that is the hangman. And so in an upright position, the hangman speaks about being comfortable in your own skin. Being comfortable to feel your own emotions. Being able to see that, there's another side to this. If I release my emotions, then I can move on, right? Well, that was definitely blocked when you were younger. And so when you were younger and when your emotions were blocked by your ego self, because you learned very, very young that it wasn't a comfortable thing for you to express your emotions. You learned that they weren't safe, right? You didn't feel safe. And that's the perspective that you grew up with, that your emotions were not safe. And right beside that, you have this 5 of Swords here in reverse, in an upright position. This individual, it looks like he's got this grimace on his face, right? Look at that, like a sly, he looks like a bully, right? I call this my bullying card. And what I look at, because look at the clouds, how jagged they are. Like it's something really slimy. Like, he's won this battle, but not in a real honest way. Because there's an individual back here that's hiding his face, and that's who I focus on. Because he's got this shame. He has this shame that he's inherited from this battle, from whatever it is that took place. He's feeling a lot of shame because he's lost. And so I think here that along with your grief that you need to get to, there's a lot of shame. You were given you were shamed. And shame is not something we were born into this world with. It's something that was given to us by people. And so I'm going to say that you were shamed around these emotions, right? You might have been teased. Maybe you were called a sucky baby. Maybe you were, just told that you have like a Aries, you have like this real fiery and energetic energy in you as a sign. And so I'm wondering if that's how you were when you were younger. Sometimes, we can be told us to kind of put that energy away, right? Box it up. It's too much for people. Something here was too much. You were too much, whether it was your emotions. But it's time here that there's this grief and this shame from childhood that you... Basically, you weren't allowed to, you were discouraged from using your emotions, and now there's something here that's coming up for you. And so what's the message, the guidance, or the truth behind what you've been resisting, right? Your ego self has been really blocking all of this for you. And so what's the truth? What is it scared to see? Our ego self is a scared part. What's the truth here? Well, the truth comes here that... 6 of Swords is my safety card, this mother and child here. I think the truth here is that you didn't feel safe when you were younger. You didn't feel safe when you were younger. You didn't feel safe to be you. And this whole card here, this hangman, is about feeling safe. Feeling, safe enough to hang upside down. Feeling safe to be in their own skin, to be their own person. And the truth here is that you came from a childhood or an adolescence where you didn't feel safe. And so for you right now, you have this ego self that is so scared about emotions. And it knew that when you were younger, it was not a safe place for you to feel. And so it pulled you away from your body and up in your head so that you didn't have to feel when you were younger. You couldn't. The emotions were too big. The emotions of grief and shame are huge, right? But the problem with the ego self that continues to lead us into adulthood, it still thinks we're a child. It doesn't know that we're an adult. And so your adult self has to come out here, because what's happening is you still think you're in an unsafe place. And maybe you are, but your ego self thinks that you're in an unsafe place, and that's why it's so scared for you to go near that grief. Because it's like, don't you remember what happened when you were younger? And so here's that Four of Wands here right underneath it, right? So the truth is that, these people are walking through these wands, or finally walking through these, away from this walled city. Like, this is a celebration card. This is where you actually walk away. And so this card is almost like saying that you're still feeling like you're in this jail. Almost like, right? You're kept in this jail of not being able to feel because you don't feel safe enough. But that safety is how you felt when you were younger. Sometimes we can be in the same situation when we're older. We recreate this situation. So it could be here that maybe you are in an unsafe place right now and you're not able to feel these emotions because you're not in an unsafe place. And so you have right after that is the Five of Wands in reverse. And I said how, this is really a reading about how you are very much up in your head and your ego is keeping you up there. And what you're not seeing here, because it's blocked, is that real, and how much you're, this is my inner critic card, these individuals that are taking their wands and they're comparing them to each other. It looks like they're battling, but they're actually comparing their wands and saying, look how big mine is, look at, I'm better than you. And so this is a real judgment card, right? Really judgy. I call it my inner critic because I don't think you're aware of how much your ego continues to keep you small by spinning you in your head about all these things that you would have learned when you were younger. Like, what sort of messages do you hear when you go towards that grief or go towards that shame? Are you hearing messages like, you're a crybaby, you're just tough it up, just suck it up, right? Or like, what's other things like the shame that you would feel like, oh, you're like, even just being called a sucky baby would be incredible shame because you have these emotions that are yours and you wanted to use and you weren't allowed to. And so this is the card that really keeps you small. Our ego self can keep us small, and it wants to keep you small because it wants you to stay where you are. Status quo. That's what the ego likes. But you've got this queen that's sitting here as your last card in this section, right? And she's in reverse. And she's the queen. She's the feminine side to us. I talked a lot about your ego. That's your masculine side. That's your mind. Your feminine side is your body. Has everything to do with your body. It's about grounding. She's about emotions. She's about getting back in your body. And she's about the wand. The wand is that creative purpose. It's about putting yourself first, getting still, getting back in your body. And it's about doing what you want to do and taking the next step for you towards your true purpose. But because she's in reverse, she's quite angry because she's trying to get you back in your body. She's trying to get you to go towards this next step for yourself, but she's being blocked by your ego self. And so she can be a very angry part. And so you've got some anger that's coming up here. You need to get angry at the people who told you you couldn't use your emotions. You need to get frickin' angry at people, right? And all the shame you feel, who are you angry at? Maybe you're not allowed to get angry. Maybe that you were told you're not allowed to get angry as well. I get angry. I ground my anger by writing out, journaling, or typing on a computer how much I'm angry and who I'm angry at, and I'll just type and type and type and say all kinds of horrible things about them and to them. That's how I ground my anger, because the emotion that comes behind that anger is your grief, and that'll come out naturally, but you got to get to the anger first, and then that grief behind it and that shame will come out when it needs to come out. And so how can you begin to trust and allow in order to step into this hollow bone? Like what's the next step? What's the tarot saying here? Well, you have the Three of Wands, and then you have the Knight of Wands. 2 wands. We talked about wands. And so like there's a lot of wand energy, and that, like I said, that's going towards your purpose, putting yourself first. The Three of Wands talks about there's a new direction here for you. The Two of Wands talks about a nudge, and the 3 is like having a plan. So it's either you have a plan of where you want to go, or the universe has a new direction for you. But in order to go towards, and maybe you've been wanting to get something going in your life, and you've realized you've come up, you're feeling stuck, and you can't do this for whatever it is. And it's because you've got to get over this hump, because there's this new direction right here, right? And so the universe is saying, that's where you're going to go. That's where they want to take you. The universe wants to take you in that new direction. Once you've done this healing work right here, and here's the Knight that's right here with you. It's an adolescent part of you, the Knights. I call them my freedom fighters. They're the ones that are pulling for you. They're pulling for your freedom. They don't want to be oppressed anymore. They don't want people to tell them, no, I can't feel. They want to be grounded, right? They want to be able to do what they want to do. They want to be able to take their life in the direction they're meant to go in. Into the direction they're meant to go. They want to do what they want to do. It sounds like I'm describing a teenager, because that's what this part is. And it's angry as hell as well. That's why teenagers are angry, because when they're told they can't do what they want to do, they get angry. And so you've got this freedom fighter in you that's trying to pull you and is angry as well. But I see here that you're feeling, really tied up here. You're feeling really, really stuck. And I think I mentioned that word already. This individual looks like she's tied up, right? But look at her water, how it's stagnant at her feet. You're not stuck. You are not stuck. And the universe is saying, I think you feel like you're stuck, but you can get out of this. You can get out of this situation that you're in right now. And I know as well, like the 7 of Pentacles, you have this individual where he's been hoeing all his life and finally gets it all done. He's like, is this everything? Is this it? And this card is in reverse, so it's like you've given up. It's like, is this it? Is this what I'm going to be suffering with all my life? Having to have this defend and stay small. And when I want to take my life in this new direction. But the universe saying, okay, no, there is a new direction for you here. And so I strongly feel that you need to get angry. And I'm going to give you a playlist on getting angry. And I think that's what you need to focus on right now. Because there's going to be some videos in there on how to journal from your anger, and that's going to help you get to it. And I guarantee you, that once you get angry and you keep on going with that anger, and that's what you focus on, the grief and the shame is going to come out. And then you're going to be able to take that next step right here. Aries, I want you to have compassion for yourself and what you're working through. This is a very difficult journey, the healing journey, but it's the most important one. So take care, and I'll talk soon. Bye.